up, players? Welcome to my round 15 tips. Apologise for the very late upload. I mean, the first game of the week is literally tonight. So my apologies, but I can't believe we're in round 15 already. This video is probably going to be the shortest one of the bunch because, well, the Hawks don't play. And we all know what happens when the Hawks play. I seem to yap quite a bit. Anyway, first game, Fremantle, Essendon. I've already spoiled my tip accidentally. I don't think anyone was surprised, though. Essendon have half a VFL side in. Fremantle have won four on the trot. I mean, they've beaten teams like Gold Coast, Port Adelaide, and GWS in that last four as well. Struggled against North last week, but, you know, it was bound to happen at North Melbourne. You know, I feel like North Melbourne, although they've been poor, they've only lost 2 of their last 5, North Melbourne. So, you know, and they've won 2 of their last 5. Now, yes, they haven't been good opposition, but they've been competing, and even the games they've lost, you know, they barely lost, in full credit to North. So, you know, they only got whacked by Collingwood. Other than that, they've actually been decently competitive, despite what the ladder says. Anyway, not going to spend too much time on this. Fremantle will easily win this game tonight. It won't be close. I doubt it will be close. I don't know what big ins Essendon have. I literally have not paid any attention to footy over the last few days across Twitter. I've just been busy, so I don't know any injury news for either side or, you know, who's in, who's out. But despite anything, I think Fremantle should win this comfortably. They'll probably win it by at least 40 points. Essendon have been smacked by every top 8 team. I think their most competitive performance was, in fact, against us when we only beat them by, 26 in round 1. And that was us playing poorly. Other than that, they've lost their last 3. Brisbane, they only lost by 18. You know, but getting smashed by nearly 100 and having your biggest, or the biggest loss of the season last week. Yeah, I'm tipping against you 100%. Fremantle with the dub on this one. Geelong take on Brisbane Friday night. This will be game of the year, maybe. You know, apparently Geelong are just getting a bunch of, you know, white around the state. It's going to look fucking awesome, and I can't believe I have to work during this game. You know, it heavily favours Geelong, the tipping, and I see why. They are the best team in the league right now. There is no arguing that. I don't care if you want to argue Collingwood. I mean, they've had some somewhat dodgy performances, but I still think, well, Geelong beat Collingwood. Not only that, but they had a harder start. They have the easier finish, and I could see them overtaking Collingwood if Collingwood drop a game, maybe against the Hawks. I mean, this game is Geelong's hardest game, and it's Brisbane, a shaky Brisbane, who, yes, sit third, but have lost 3 of their last 5, you know, with losses to Adelaide, to Melbourne, and, of course, last week to GWS, which was, you know, kind of embarrassing, and, you know, 2 of those losses were at the Gabba, so it's not like they can use the excuse. They struggled against Essendon, and then just came out and whacked Hawthorn. So, you know, they've had 4 dodgy weeks, and a really good performance against us, unfortunately, which doesn't really help our credibility. But I am going to back Geelong. I think they win this decently comfortably, if I'm going to be honest. I think they win it by 20 points, and expect Jeremy Cameron to possibly kick a bag, especially considering Payne was injured against the Giants. That's a big miss in that back line for Brisbane. But, yeah, give me Geelong. Carlton taking on the Kangas. Why is this at the MCG? I don't know. But yeah, Carlton are heavily favoured to win this, unsurprisingly. Yeah, and I'm not going to tip against them. I mean, they've got 91% of the tips. They're looking somewhat alright. They've won their last 2 games. You know, barely beat Essendon, and then, you know, kind of comfortably beat West Coast. Even though their first quarter outscored the rest of their game, I'm pretty sure, which is just insane. They've done that 2 weeks in a row, actually. And then North Melbourne, although they've been competitive, you know, I think Carlton are the more quality side. They really don't have an excuse for underperforming as badly as they are. They've got one of the easiest run homes behind Geelong. They should be pushing for the 8 here, and this would get them, a game outside of the 8? Just maybe 2 games, considering I have the Dogs winning. So, you know, if they really want to push for top 8, because the top 8 is really running away with it at the moment. I mean, it's really the top 9 that's in the race at the moment, but considering the easy fixture of Carlton, I would say they are a chance. Maybe Port Adelaide. Other than that, if you're 12th and lower, you're out of the race for me, even if you nearly win every game. I mean, like, you look at Sydney at 5 wins, 8 losses, 13 games. So you have 10 games left. You have to win 8 to even be considered a chance. if you want to confirm yourself, especially this season, considering how it's 8 wins already just to be in the top 8, you're probably going to need to push 14 wins. So if you're Sydney or lower, you need to win 9 of your last 10. And then, teams like Carlton and lower, you need to win 8 of your last 10 to confirm yourself, 7 to be a chance. So, that's a tough ask for all those teams. Anyways, I'm going to tip Carlton here. I'm going to go Carlton by 26 points. I think it'll relatively be somewhat competitive, but Carlton sort of pull away eventually, but they just haven't looked good whatsoever. Like I said, they've won, 3 of their last 5. It was St Kilda, Essendon, and West Coast that they've beaten. Other than that, smacked by the Giants, and then a loss to Sydney, who have been embarrassingly poor this season. But anyway, give me the Blues. Port take on the Swans at Adelaide Oval. Port are cooking something here. They went from losing, 4 in a row to winning their last 2 against some decent opposition. GWS, and then, yes, I know Melbourne are bottom 4, but they actually, despite starting 0-5, won 5 of their last 6, or 5 of 6, whatever it was. And then they showed very promising sides. I mean, beating Brisbane at the Gabba, smacking the Swans by 10 goals. Being extremely competitive against Collingwood, but then it kind of flattened out last week. Robbed against Collingwood, you could argue, by the way. They got smacked by, Port at Adelaide Oval last week, and Port are starting to find some string of games, just beat a really good GWS side by, 3 goals. A GWS side that everyone locked in for top 4 at the start of the season. And then, they've comfortably beaten Melbourne. Georgiades kicked, 7? They've got Zach Butler. They're looking better. They are looking better. They can push, I reckon. And I think Adelaide Oval against a very poor Sydney team who have won 2 of their last 5. They got smacked by 90 to the Crows and then 10 goals. So those are the 2 losses they've had in the past 3 weeks. A bounce back win against Richmond means fuck all, really. Give me Port Adelaide. I'm going to go Port by, 18 points. I think, again, it'll be relatively close, but I think Port will get the job done. And beat Sydney twice this season, because I made the mistake of tipping Sydney the first time, which in fairness they would have won if they had just capitalised, but they didn't. So but give me Port. The guarantee of the round, Collingwood take on St Kilda. Now, I just hate St Kilda. I genuinely dislike them so much. There's nothing to like about this team. Most boring, irrelevant team of literally history. Been there from the very start, have the least amount of success considering the time. And just one of the worst fan bases. I mean, pulled 11,000 or something at a home game at Marvel. And they're that bad and that small and that unloyal that, against the biggest side in AFL, the biggest side by far will draw you any crowd, even no matter how shit your team is. They've made you play at Marvel. It's a Collingwood home game, yet they've gone to Marvel. Why? Because St Kilda are dog shit and small. They won't draw them anything. So why put them at the MCG if they're not even going to expect to push over 55,000? Give me Collingwood. Collingwood will smack them by at least 50. St Kilda are putrid. People were pushing them for finals. I just laugh at those people, genuinely. I told you, they do the same thing every year. They finish in between 10 and 14th. They have a good string of games. They'll beat... they'll have the one upset a year, which is always against Geelong, and then they'll probably finish the season with 5 of their last 7 wins, or something stupid to give their fans hope, and then finish on 10 or 11 wins, and then do the exact same thing. It's the same thing on repeat. They play boring football. They're the worst team. They've got the worst fans in terms of loyalty. Maybe besides Melbourne. But other than that, I dislike St Kilda a lot. Collingwood are the next best team, and if they don't want Geelong right up their arse, they've definitely got to win games like this. They're going to smack them. It's not even going to be close. Give me Collingwood by 50. Game of the round here. Giants take on Gold Coast. 2 teams that have been iffy, but also good somewhat. Gold Coast have lost their last 2, but won 3 of their last 5. Wins against St Kilda, not really valid, but Hawthorn and the Bulldogs were definitely good wins for them to get. But in Darwin, it's like, you're really favoured there, and it seems like you can only win there because your last 2 games, I mean, you were at People's First Stadium against a very strong Fremantle side. You lost by 11. Then you finally had to travel because you were literally... Okay, you went to Marvel, but 3 out of 4 weeks you were in the Gold Coast or in Queensland or / Northern Territory. You're in the upper end. Your home ground, your territory. Whatever. You went to Geelong, got smacked, and 4 goals, considering the low scoring, is a smack. You had the bye last week to kind of rest and reset. But GWS, on the other hand, have won 3 of their last 4, beaten the Blues. They beat the Tigers barely, which was embarrassing. Lost to Port, which was embarrassing. And then bounced back last week against Brisbane with a very good 11-point win. Could have stretched it out further, but Brisbane really wanted to try come back again. And Brisbane's problem is leaving it too late. I mean, you can't just... once teams work out how to be extremely well defensively, and GWS, Collingwood and Hawthorn are 3 of the top defences, even Adelaide and Geelong are in there, you play those sides, and if you get 4 goals behind, by the last quarter, you're not coming back and winning that. I know you did last year, but it's simply not going to work this time around. So, but given that, I'm actually going to go to the Giants. They do have a poor home record, but I'm just going to back them a little bit more. This will be the 50-50 to early splits tippers. I think GWS have been the more solid side. Gold Coast seem to not play away, and I did expect them to drift off ever so slightly. So, GWS will actually move up to 6 winning this, pushing Gold Coast down to 7th, which is crazy. Surely they can't miss finals from here on. I highly doubt it. Again, I think the gap is too big, and then even if they lose this game, GWS will have played 15, whereas Gold Coast will have only played 13. So they still have games in hand, and that game in hand that they missed, of course, is Essendon, which is practically a guaranteed win, especially considering it's in the Gold Coast. So I wouldn't be too worried if you're a Suns fan. Don't worry, there's none watching this video because there's none at all. But yeah, Hawthorn will be expected to still remain in the top 5 unless Fremantle really win big. Against Essendon, which, well, let's be honest, could very well happen. But, yeah, give me GWS. Give me GWS in a good game by... I'm going to go a goal. I reckon it'll be very close for some reason, but I also feel like they could just go out and comfortably win it, and Gold Coast kind of just get outplayed, and, then the stress level starts coming in for Damien Hardwick. But, yeah, give me the Giants by a goal. Well, talk about a graveyard game. The Dogs take on Richmond. I mean, they have a 1% of people tipping them. That's absolutely insane. Don't need to spend much time on this, I don't think. Yes, the Dogs have had some very poor games. They've only won 2 of their last 5. But, hey, you give them a really bad team to beat, they will kick their ass. I mean, they've lost to every contender possible. They lost to Gold Coast, they lost to Geelong, and they lost to Hawthorn. But they smacked the shit out of St Kilda and Essendon, and I don't see this being different. Give me the Dogs by 80. By 80. I know Richmond are very competitive, but Jesus, the Dogs are still a very solid side. They'll still be out of the 8 by the end of this round, I would imagine. But they keep getting up the percentage, I mean, it's the 2nd highest in the league, I believe they have. Sorry, the 4th. 4th highest. Yes, the 4th highest in the league. They could very well push for finals. Well, obviously they're going to push for finals, but the percentage will help them in the case of, they need to get in on percentage. Anyway, yeah, give me the Dogs comfortably. Anyway, let's recap my tips. I've got Fremantle beating Essendon, smacking them. I've got Geelong winning it over Brisbane. Carlton will smack North Melbourne. Maybe not smack, actually. I feel like North can, put up somewhat of a performance. Whether they will or not, usually against Carlton they don't. So maybe, yeah, Carlton will smack them. Port Adelaide at Adelaide Oval win 3 in a row and really settle themselves for trying to push for finals. I still don't think they'll get there. But they'll beat Sydney, and Sydney's season will be done because they would have to win literally 9 of the last 9 to get in, which just won't happen. Collingwood will smack St Kilda, the living daylights out of them. Game it around, GWS will win it against the Suns, and the Dogs will smack Richmond. My 3 guarantees, give me Geelong, give me Carlton, give me Collingwood. Right there, those are your 3 guarantees of the round. I could have went the Bulldogs, but I didn't want to be that boring. So yeah, those are my 3 guarantees, and those are my tips for the round. Now, I forgot to do this at the start of the video. I do apologise. Let's go through what I got last round. I really thought I was going to get 7 out of 7. Really poor, to be honest. This was the 50-50 one that really switched it. I can't believe the Hawks won that game. But, hey, people can't say we can't beat people in the top 8 any longer. Brisbane, I did tip them. That's right. I did too. That was the game. And I did say it in the video. I said I could see this going either way. I was really tempted to tip the Giants, but then I got the last 4 right, as I'm pretty sure every single person did. So really not an impressive round by me. So hopefully this round can fix up, but obviously we'll have to see. Anyway, give me your ideas or thoughts, on the round 15 tips, and let me know who you've tipped. And yeah, that's about it. Enjoy the footy this weekend, and I will probably not be streaming any of it because I'm working every single night for the next 4 days. So that's awesome. Anyway, up the Hawks.